There's nothing preventing Emery from administering the drug in Canada. Ibogaine isn't an approved drug here, but it isn't a controlled substance either. Health Canada only says it isn't an offense to possess it, and that users of Ibogaine do so at their own risk. On day one of her Ibogaine experience, Eliana's withdrawal symptoms have begun. It's been 48 hours since she took methadone. She's afraid.
Do you think I should come back another time?
No, you'll be fine.
Do you think I'm going to get really hot during it?
Nope, that doesn't happen much.
No?
Emery has hired 3 staff to run the makeshift clinic. None are trained in medicine or addictions. Lynette is a chef. Her knowledge of dosage and before and after care comes from treatment advice on the internet. Lynette takes Eliana to a bedroom, darkened because Ibogaine makes the eyes sensitive to light.
You know, even from that little dose I gave you, you're slightly improved.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it is. So, here we go.
Ibogaine is no recreational drug. The typical experience, says Emery, is full of intense hallucinations and lasts 8 to 30 hours. After an hour, Eliana sees the walls pulsating.
How did you see death?
Just thinking about how everything dies.
Yeah, it's too bright.
But after only 6 hours, Eliana gets up.
This is very bright. He's scary. Here, let's just go over here.
She wants out of the dark room.
Maybe I'll put that music on for this. It is really bright.
Emery says he's never seen anyone get up so soon.
Here, I'll put some nice music on.
She hasn't taken methadone in 2.5 days.
It's not that bad, but it's just like the shakiness, you know? That's the hardest part.
She's exhausted and repeats over and over again that her brain is tired. Emery says that's the Ibogaine doing its job.
What happens is the methadone is leaving your head, and so a certain clarity is forming, and now she's thinking about all these things that are important to her.
But the Ibogaine is still in Eliana's system. It's morning. She hasn't slept at all.
Oh, it's just the thinking. Thinking. Gets tiring.
She says she's not in pain, but she cannot stand still.
Is this just a result of the not having the methadone, or is it the Ibogaine?
I don't know. I think part of it is not having the methadone. I mean, I think because I always have this horrible, creepy, crawly, jump out of your skin, you know, kind of feeling without it, but I don't know. According to them, they said the Ibogaine too kind of makes you not sleep. I think I want to go home today.
She's had enough, but Emery feels she should stay longer, that she's doing well, and the Ibogaine is purging the narcotic from her system.
Why does this happen? I don't really know. When people ask me how does it work, I only can comment that it does work. I'm not a scientist that can tell people with any clarity how it does work.
In fact, only one scientist in the world, a neurologist at the University of Miami, has conducted clinical trials of Ibogaine on humans. Deborah Mash has spent the past decade studying Ibogaine, staking her career on it, despite the disdain shown for the drug by her medical and scientific peers. The biggest hurdle for Ibogaine's supporters has been amassing human data. Mash set out to do that on the Caribbean island of St. Kitts.
We went offshore because we were unable to obtain the federal dollars to conduct the research studies in the United States. It was a catch-22 kind of situation. We needed to prove that Ibogaine worked before they gave us the money to prove that Ibogaine would work.
Part treatment, part experiment. She paid for the clinic by charging patients $12,000 each. Almost 300 patients later, she's patented an Ibogaine extract and claims her data shows Ibogaine works.
There's no doubt Ibogaine at least in our hands, is a powerful addiction interrupter. It will allow individuals a window of opportunity to develop a plan for maintaining sobriety in their lives. Every one of you have said the same thing in terms of it helped us step out of the addiction.
Despite those results, MASH conducts regular post-treatment counseling with her patients, something Marc Emery doesn't do. She says it's a must to deal with the underlying causes of addiction.
It filtered out a lot of stuff, and it made a lot of things clear for me, so I could work on them one by one instead of having all this stuff jumbled up in my mind.
She also says there needs to be more study before Ibogaine ever makes it to market. And she's emphatic. No one without medical expertise should experiment with such a dangerous drug.
I'm very frightened by underground clinics and people administering Ibogaine who do not have medical experience or skill. They are putting a patient at risk for death. To me, not only is that an illegal event, but it's an immoral and unethical event.
All right, so...
Marc Emery has no such qualms about his lack of expertise.
That's about right, give or take, yeah.
But his approach sometimes leads to trouble.
Hold on to that, there's a glass of water.
As he treats Eliana, Emery is helping another of his clients. Stephen is addicted to morphine. After he takes Ibogaine, he can't stop vomiting.
Then all of a sudden I have to throw up, and I throw up a big mouthful of mucus and blood. Then it's okay for 20 minutes, then the same thing again.
A day later, he blacks out and is rushed to hospital, where he's treated for dehydration.
Stephen lapsed into unconsciousness briefly. We took him to the hospital, which of course, so we have the right instincts too. If it's a situation we can't immediately address or understand right now, we'll go get a doctor, we'll go to a hospital. So
shouldn't there have been someone there who knew what was happening, or someone who was qualified?
Well, you wouldn't always have that even if you were in a medical facility, because a doctor would be on call, he'd be available, but he wouldn't be standing beside a patient 24 hours a day.
Emery says the clients he's still in touch with are doing well, although some, including his son, have relapsed. He believes he's helping desperate people. He shares his observations with Ibogaine internet groups and says he's contributing to a growing body of evidence that Ibogaine is legitimate therapy.
I'm certainly hoping our research and our investigation with our patients can provide some pioneering material that the government can later look back on and begin a program of its own.
Eliana was supposed to stay at the therapy house for 10 days. She's still methadone-free, but she doesn't know if she'll need it again.
Some people say methadone withdrawal goes on for 6 months. For 6 months that you never feel right.
She's hardly slept at all. She's anxious to get home, to be in a familiar setting. She's convinced Ibogaine has worked.
I think it's a miracle. I do. That's what I was like in some kind of euphoric state yesterday because I realized that it really had worked, and it was like a miracle. It was like, should be on the cover of the New York Times or the Washington Post.
It's been 2 months since her trip to BC. She's endured bouts of near suicidal depression, but she says she's still free of methadone. Stories like Eliana's will keep circulating amongst addicts, enticing desperate junkies to gamble on a drug whose potential is yet to be established and whose risks may be immense. For the National